Part 2 of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC, the Indigo Disc, was finally released on the 14th of this month, and I was even more ready for this one than I was for the Teal Mask. I did learn my lesson from last time and only took 1 extra day off to play it instead of 4, but we still had plenty of time to dive headfirst into this new adventure. So with that, let me tell you the tale of our first experience at Unnovan School, Blueberry Academy. Upon booting up the game for the first time on release day, not having to even wait a second for it to update unlike last time, we received a call from none other than Director Clavel himself, letting us know that we were personally selected to take part in an exchange program for Unnova's Blueberry Academy. I guess Carmine had put a good word in for me after our misadventures in Kitakami, saving the region from a revival outbreak of some terribly named creatures, catching a mask-bearing ogre, pissing off her younger brother, all great things deserving of high praise. I wonder what Kieran has been up to since we last saw him having a borderline villainous monologue right before the credits of the last DLC began to roll. Only good things, I imagine. Well, for now, it was time to meet the one who would be bringing me to the academy, Director Cyrano. He awaited us in the lobby of our school, and it wasn't until after he decided that calling Clavel Veli was okay that we were on our way to the title card. But more importantly, the middle of the ocean. Not sure who greenlit this one, but they either need a raise or to be terminated. Effective immediately. Haven't quite decided on which. Not long after we arrived, we were introduced to one of the students of Blueberry Academy, Lacey, who also just so happens to be one of the Academy's Elite Four members. And how convenient of her to show up, cause I guess Cyrano was tired of talking to me, pushing all the responsibility of explaining the new scene to us onto her. She took the task with mostly open arms, and told us to head through the entrance over by the battle court straight ahead. I had my level 69 Meowscarada Oregano at the ready, as I had learned my lesson from the Teal Mask, and had a feeling the levels would be even a smidge higher than they were in Kitakami. And I was right to assume as much, but I clearly wasn't prepared for anything. Yeah, we got a Magmar here? Oh shit. You've only got 1 Pokemon that can battle, better come back with 2 or more. Alright. Thankfully, it wasn't much of a contest as to who to bring on. Lacey tried to impress us by telling us how wild Pokemon could terrestrialize here at the Academy, but as a native of Paldea, I've seen that so many times that I didn't even bat an eye. Cyrano letting us in on a bit more detail regarding the terrestrial potential here did pique my interest slightly, but he was honestly starting to creep me out a little bit, so I was relieved when he then suggested that Lacey and I fight. That way I could kind of get an idea of what we were working with level-wise. What do we think the levels are going to be like? We'll see. Plusle and Minun. Wow. 70. Okay, cool. Love myself a classic level 70 Plusle Minun duo. Freddy made quick work of the polar rabbits, introducing a surprise Excadrill in the middle who took out Oregano with a helping hand boosted X-Scissor. Like I always say, thankfully this isn't a Nuzlocke. The mole went down without a hitch after that, leading us to the most important part of this exchange program, getting an outfit to properly fit in. Not like I specifically picked out this very orange outfit just for this trip or anything, but sure, feel free to dress me up like I'm your little Barbie doll. Okay, but like, it's kind of a nice outfit though. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the terrarium. The vast open space located under the water surface in a big old glass dome in the middle of the ocean. I really can't stress this enough. We are in the middle of the ocean. Does no one find that maybe even just a little bit odd? Either way, there was so much that we could see just from the entrance of the dome, but one thing really caught my eye. It's Perrin! Perrin's right there. After a quick rundown of the 4 different biomes contained within the terrarium, Lacey told me to meet her in the coastal biome for class? Ew, I don't want to go to class. I just want to talk to my old friend Perrin. God, she really just makes me want to, you know? Just makes me want to play Legends Arceus. She was pleasantly surprised to see me, asking me about the Hisuian Growlithe that she had entrusted me with back in Kitakami. Oh, you mean the one that has literally never left my boxes? Oh yeah, he's doing great, don't worry. She apparently had just started working for the Academy as a photographer, and therefore reasonably asked if she could follow me around and take pictures of Pokemon that I catch around the terrarium. And just like in Kitakami, she'd let me in on a little photography tip if I filled out 200 entries in my decks. Regardless of my dissatisfaction with this newfound milestone, as I knew it would take me a while to complete it, I agreed to her request and felt a little sense of guilt from not having used that Growlithe at all since I had received it. So I did what any sensible person would do and added that level 15 Growlithe to my party in place of Mr. Fazbear, bringing about our second official team member for what was to come. I forgot to properly name him till later, but his name is Bear. Now that we had chatted with everyone's favorite photographer, it was time to set out on our mission. Going to that class Lacey had mentioned? Definitely not. This is the 5th video of us playing through this game. If you've seen the previous ones, which if you haven't, you should, you know damn well that we were about to go on some random side adventure where we make no progress for hours. 3 hours to be exact. But don't worry, it wasn't for nothing. We took the time to catch a lot of the Pokemon that the terrarium had to offer. If we were gonna get that tip from Perrin, this was how we were gonna do it. Along the way, we evolved our sweet Bear into an Arcanine who was definitely gonna see a lot of use during our playtime, and filled up our remaining 4 team slots. In addition to countless other Pokemon that were left unnamed and sent directly to the boxes, we added Legless the Seadra, Dreamsicle the Minior, Golden Gate the Duraludon, and Faye the Alolan Vulpix turned Ninetales moments after being caught. Also came across a Beldum who found the sweet release of death to be preferable over serving me for the rest of its days, taking itself out after expiring all 35 of its Tackle PP and equally as many of my Ultra Balls. I'll be back for you someday, you sentient, suggestively veiny metal rod. With the help of one of our viewers, we were then able to evolve Legless into a Kingdra to round out our team a bit before we actually played the game, heading into the dreaded class that we had been putting off for so long. I wonder what sort of menial task they'll have us do for our very first class. Oh, just catch an Alolan Pokemon, I see. I knew all of my aimless wandering would pay off. Now I don't have to walk like 20 feet back the way I came and catch one of the many Alolan Executors roaming the area, cause I already got one. Man, it feels good to be so prepared. And now that we had completed that first quest, we were introduced to the new system added in this DLC. Barbecues. No, not pulled pork sandwich type of barbecue, but instead just little quests to be completed around the academy to collect some BP, the school's choice currency. The currency could be used for a whole myriad of things, from food at their cafeteria to items from their school store, all kinds of things. Then mere seconds after Lacey had left us, we received a call from none other than Carmine. Oh my god, it's been so long, buddy. How have you been? Meet you at the center of the dome at the Central Plaza? Sounds great. Let me just make my way over and oops, my hand slipped and now I'm in a Union Circle group with my viewers catching more Pokemon and completing barbecues to get a stash of BP for future use? Why does this happen every time? So yeah, for the next 2 hours, we kinda just filled out even more of the decks, trade evos and all, and did a whole lot of barbecues. During this time, we did find ourselves a metal alloy, the item needed to evolve our boy Golden Gate into our Chaladon, finally showing off his namesake. He learned the move Electro Shot, a 130 base power, 100% accurate special electric move that is actually busted in the DLC, but I'll get to that later. In the meantime, just look at him. My boy got the glow up he deserved. And now that our team was fully rounded out with no real changes to be made for the remainder of the playthrough, we said our goodbyes, departed from the Union Circle, and began tackling the story. The first order of business, of course, was to visit Carmine at the Central Plaza, as she had called us about all that time ago. We trekked over to the plaza, finding Carmine in a conversation with some unknown person. I thought our Pokemon were a little worse for wear, so I headed over to the nearby heal station to take care of that problem. Big mistake, because right next to the heal station was an NPC with an orange speech bubble. That means they're important, so I have to talk to them. We began talking to Sinclair, who spoke of some kind of synchronization, wanting for me to help with their experiments. I guess I'll do your silly little experiments, lady. What is this synchronization thing anyways? Sounds like a waste of time. Oh wait, at that moment it clicked. This was how we got the means to play Pokepark in a mainline Pokemon game. I had seen stuff on this in the final trailer for the Indigo disc right before it came out, and I was honestly pretty excited about it. It looked super fun to do, so I definitely wanted to give it a whirl now. We participated in Sinclair's little trials, running around as Faye and completing whatever tasks were thrown our way. After all was said and done, we obtained the Synchro Machine, allowing us to synchronize whenever we so desired. We never used it again. I'm serious, it was one and done with with this feature for us. Looking back, I mostly just forgot that it existed, but now I really want to use it again. Much better. It was finally time for us to actually talk to Carmine, so we headed over, interrupting her conversation with ? Only for her to insist that we have a battle. We obliged, of course, making relatively quick work of her team. She's really beefed him up, I'll give her that, but even with my new unfamiliar team, she was no match for the one and only Isygil. Immediately following our bout, we heard a familiar voice nearby. Okay. Are you kidding me? What was this assignment? Too hard for you too? Oh no, Kieran, he has become something else. I thought I told you to train 5 Pokemon to battle with. Sorry, things just have been really hectic at home this month. Oh, got it. So that means you're just okay being this weak forever? That what I'm hearing? No, Well, since you're so busy, I'll go ahead and do you a favor. I'll write your resignation from the club for you. I don't need people in my club who don't take it seriously. So that's what Kieran's been up to these past few months. I can't say I'm necessarily surprised based on how he was acting back in Kitakami, but I would not have guessed he'd be this bad. It wasn't long after seeing what Kiki had become that we were introduced to Drayton. Introduced quite bluntly, might I add. Yeah, I can kind of see it. After only seconds of knowing me, he offered to show me their club room. I was eager while Carmine remained skeptical, but in a weird, I want to do everything he says, but if I do, everyone will assume that I have a crush on him, so therefore I have to instead just seem wary of every suggestion that he makes to hide my innermost desires, kind of way. Upon arrival at the league club room, Drayton explained to us that they have a ranking system in the league club called the BB League, which has a whole Elite Four and everything. He also called himself the Drayster, and I've never hated anything more in my entire life. He suggested that we have a lunch date in the cafeteria to go over a couple things, and we happily agreed, while Carmine fumed at the idea like a low-quality exhaust. But this is all pretty self-explanatory stuff that was showcased in the trailers for the DLC. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. Like how you can upgrade the biomes of the terrarium in order to spawn in additional Pokemon species, and how those new species are the starters from previous generations. We all knew that they were bringing back the starters, but I didn't expect it to be locked behind an in-game paywall. But now that I say it out loud, that is probably the most naive thought I've ever had. Game Freak making the 24 beloved starters easy to obtain? No sir. Make the player save up 12,000 BP, 3,000 per biome just to unlock the opportunity to catch these guys. And to top it all off, let's make some of them exceptionally difficult to find, and all of them have seemingly low spawn rates. But let's be honest, I don't think I could care less. Just give me Mudkip, baby. Carmine suggested we go to my dorm room since I guess we have one of those here. So we did just that, finding ourselves in a room nearly identical to our dorm back in Paldea, just with a different color scheme. A whole lot of effort went into this one, huh guys? While we were in the room, Carmine first elaborated on and accentuated her distaste for Drayton, and second, gave me an explanation on what was going on with Kieran. He apparently had been training so rigorously since we mopped the floor with him in Kitakami that he managed to beat Drayton and claim the title of the BB League champion. Say what you want about Kieran, but my man was dedicated. Love him or hate him, you gotta respect the grind. She sent us off on our date with Drayton, so we got changed into something a bit more blue. Gotta doll myself up so I can more easily yet harshly destroy his ego. You know how it goes. We made our way down to the cafeteria that once again looks exactly like its counterpart at Naranja, only to find Drayton sat at one of the tables. He started talking about the idea of us joining the BB League when the entourage of ? Lacey, Kieran, and ? but Red came strolling in. Drayton proposed the same option to them, and as the composition of the BB League's Elite Four, they all voted on whether or not to allow me into the league. Apparently there are rules against exchange students joining the league, so on those grounds alone, both Lacey and ? Amarys were quick to decline. Drayton obviously wanted me to join more than anything, and Red ? Crispin hopped on that same train. It was 2v2, Kieran being the deciding vote. He made sure to go full douchebag with his answer too, saying, "It doesn't matter who I'm facing, I don't lose." Now, Drayton replying with, "Guess we've got our answer," is just what I'd expect from the way too young to be graying kid at this point. But let's be real, that really isn't an answer. That's just a villainous way of being a dick. Well, either way, we were officially in, so all there was left to do was take them all on. After getting signed up to take on the league at the academy's entrance and having a quick interaction with Kieran in which he presented as the definition of concerning, we didn't go fight any of them. I mean, we did, just not right away. No, instead I found it more pressing to go and catch Pokemon I had already caught. This was so we could have a full living dex of the region, but seriously, now is not at all the time. We did go ahead and catch the starters that appeared in the canyon biome, which is much more important if you ask me, and 2 hours and a Papa John's pizza later, we found ourselves at the Canyon Plaza where Amarys, the Steel type Elite Four member, resided. We immediately spoke to the person at the front desk of the plaza to begin Amarys' Elite Trial, which turned out to be the source of the new flying mechanics that were teased in the DLC trailers. But this wasn't just some happy-go-lucky flying time trial, it was a secret drug operation. Well, I mean, the secret wasn't really all that well kept, but Amarys gave Koraidon steroids in order to fly. She also thought that our boy's name was Agias, since that's his cry, which is superbly funny to me that they basically are giving her Pokemon anime logic. Also, her demeanor is very odd. She kind of reminds me of that one Magma admin, Courtney, specifically from Omega Ruby. That blank stare and odd dialogue, they're both just so robotic. Amarys less so, but still, what's up with that? We passed the flying trial with similarly characterized colors and went to face off against Amarys at the plaza's battle court. And let me tell ya, she is no joke. Leading with an Alolan Dugtrio equipped with a focus sash and Skarmory with sturdy and rocky helmet, and the other 4 Mons in the back being strategically equipped with items as well, I struggled with that first fight. And the second one. And the third one, and you know what, you get the point. I even leveled my dudes up to more properly match the levels of her Pokemon, but we still couldn't get past her stupid Empoleon. So instead of continuing to demonstrate insanity at its core, we headed off to the Savannah biome to try our hand at the Fire type Elite Four, Crispin. The Elite Trial here was different. We basically had to make the spiciest sandwich we could muster with a set of ingredients contained within the trial. No outside food or drink allowed in Crispin's kitchen. In order to obtain specific ingredients, you had to battle the nearby trainers, trade them your ingredients for some of theirs, so on and so forth, until you had all the ingredients you needed to make the requested extra spicy sandwich. So we set out, getting some onion, vinegar, chorizo, and jalapeno through a string of battles and trades. There was one more available trade of mustard for the aforementioned vinegar, but that seemed unnecessary. So to the sandwich assembling station we went, tossed all the ingredients together, and it isn't hot enough? What do you mean it isn't hot enough? Well, apparently the way to make it spicy enough for this red-haired halfwit was to, in fact, add that mustard that we had skipped out on. Personally, I'm going to have to wholeheartedly disagree with this. You're telling me that vinegar adds substantially less heat profile to a sandwich than mustard, a sauce whose first and therefore most prevalent ingredient is vinegar. Sorry, Game Freak, but this myth has been busted. As for the battle against Crispin, the newfound combo of Legless and Golden Gate came to be the perfect counter to his lead Talonflame and Rotom Heat. Our living bridge did take a substantial amount of damage, swapping out for Oregano, but we eventually found ourselves up against the cook's final Mon, taking out the Executor with one final, well-deserved freeze dry after several turns of Citrus Berry Harvest garbage. Stall much, you dumb little tree? Following our first Elite Four win, Drayton decided to show up to congratulate me, and then just kinda left? I appreciate the encouragement, but was that really necessary? Regardless, it was time to take on our next Elite Four member. Or at least it should have been. But of course, in true Issy Boy Skinny fashion, we just started running around, doing various barbecues, filling out the decks, basically anything but progressing the story. So, while past me wanders aimlessly around the terrarium, let me tell you about today's sponsor. Me! Yeah, no, I don't actually have a sponsor. I'm just bad at segueing into self-promo. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and follow me over on Twitch, and leave a comment saying that you liked the video so the YouTube gods like me. Your support helps the channel grow, and I really like reading and responding to all of your comments. Whoa! When did we end up at the Polar Plaza? Well, perfect. This is exactly where we needed to be in order to take on our next target, the one and only Drayton. The Dragon Master's trial was a bit more straightforward than the others, just being a simple defeat these 3 trainers kind of task, much like a classic Pokemon gym, but with a slight twist. You were only allowed to use Pokemon that could be found within the terrarium itself. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but I barely had to switch my team around. Legless, Golden Gate, Faye, and Dreamsicle were all caught in there, so it was only Oregano and Bear that had to go. I swapped them out for a random Cleavor and Doug trio I had in the box, knowing full well that it didn't matter who we added to the team. All we needed was Legless and Golden Gate, and we'd be golden. Yes, pun intended. We made quick work of the 3 trainers and began our bout with Drayton, which ended swiftly as I made some poor switches and ended up resetting. But let's not talk about that. Instead, let's move on to attempt 2, where we swapped Dreamsicle out for a Hitmonlee for no other reason than Fake Out. After flinching Drayton's opposing Dragonite and losing both Hitmonlee and Faye to an Earthquake and an Iron Head respectively, Legless and Golden Gate came out to create their perfect synergy. Rain Dance Electro Shot. You see, our Chaladon's signature move, Electro Shot, the one I talked about earlier, boosts the user's special attack stat by 1 stage when used. The downside? The whole thing occurs over the course of 2 turns. First turn, it powers up and you get the stat boost, and the second turn, it launches the attack, much like the move Solar Beam. But also, much like Solar Beam, this 2-turn problem becomes no more when a certain weather condition is in play. And wouldn't you know it, for Electro Shot, that weather condition is rain. And what does Kingdra learn at level 65? Rain Dance, baby. So, with the power of a Damp Rock and double battles, Golden Gate is able to sweep through the competition with Electro Shots after Legless sets up the rain, winning us the battle with ease. We did come pretty close to dying as Drayton's Sceptile really threw us for a loop, but it doesn't matter, because we won! Following the battle, Drayton happily gifted us with the TM for Dragon Cheer, which is cool, I guess. See, at the time, I was unaware of the TM significance in the way of being the means of evolving a certain fruit into its new form. So yeah, if you haven't already, go get that sticky Diplin out of your box and teach it Dragon Cheer. It'll be worth your while. Before we could head out, Kieran decided to pay us a visit, and he was very anxious to face us in battle. What's up, mighty champion? Scoping out the competition? I was getting worried. It'd be so disappointing if Isigiel had gotten weaker. But you seem as strong as ever, thankfully. Isigiel, go all the way. Don't go losing. I can't show you how strong I've gotten if you don't even make it to me. Well, he's just a pleasure, ain't he? Now at this point, I was gonna wrap up the stream as we had been going for 14 and a half hours at this point, and it was almost 1 in the morning, but of course, my chat had other plans. No shot you don't finish the BB Elite 4 right now? You want me to finish it right now, dude? Ain't no way that that's what you're saying. All right, we'll give it a whirl, whatever. So instead of being responsible and going to bed, I stayed up for another hour, taking on the remaining 2 Elite Four members. First, we enacted vengeance on Amarys, taking out her Mon swiftly with the Legless Golden Gate combo. Even her Metagross went down to a single +5 Electro Shot. I'm telling you, this combo is absolutely broken. Of course, Drayton had to show up after defeating Amarys, but it wasn't long before we were in the coastal biome, taking Lacey's weird-ass quiz so we could battle her. I can't really knock the quiz too hard though, since I did get the second question wrong. I don't know how Venonat sees at night, I'm sorry, Lacey. And I don't want to know what part of your Granbull you use as a pillow. As for the actual battle against the fairy type specialist, you're probably thinking, well, if it's fairy type, dragon is weak to fairy types, so therefore you can't use dragon types. That means Legless and Golden Gate are off the table, right? Wrong. Our ever-reliable duo mopped the floor with Lacey's fairies, and her poison type. And what the hell? Why's she still got that Excadrill? Oh yeah, that makes sense. That stupid mole did take down our sentient bridge, but with a few tactful switches, we were able to take down the remaining 2 and claim our victory over the 4th and final Elite Four member. And regardless of that same chatter from before insisting that we could finish the DLC that night, 15 and a half hours was plenty for me, so I wrapped up the stream. Only to start back up less than 12 hours later to finish up what we had left of the story. To start, it was finally time to face off against Kieran for the first time since our adventures back in Kitakami. We brought our Mons up to at least level 80 each and went to begin the showdown. Kinda have everything figured out. Oh my god, an actual cutscene? Holy sh**. Kept me waiting. Worked so hard for a chance to show you what I can really do as you go. I put everything into studying and making my Pokemon stronger. I crushed the Elite Four and became champion. All that hard work, all of it was just so I could beat you right here, right now. We led with our usual while he sent out Dragonite and Politoed, who set up Rain with Drizzle, allowing me to get a little bit of damage off on Dragonite with Dragon Pulse from Legless before going down to a critical hit, helping hand-boosted Hurricane. Golden Gate was sure to blast Politoed with a one-turn Electro Shot that was weakened by its held Wakanberry, bringing the frog down into the yellow. In came Faye, who took down the Dragonite with a single Ice Beam, followed by a finishing blow on Politoed from Archaladon. Kieran then sent in Incineroar and Porygon Z, flinching Faye with Fake Out and missing a Hyper Beam with Porygon. Golden Gate took out the cat with an unnecessary critical hit Electro Shot, and out came one of my personal favorites, Grimmsnarl. The Hairy Fairy was sure to set up a light screen while Porygon landed a Hyper Beam, obliterating Faye, which is okay, because I had chosen to set up Aurora Veil with her while it was raining, not snowing. Grimmsnarl was then hit with a +3 Flash Cannon from Golden Gate, bringing it down to its Sash, since apparently all of the trainers in this place have a Focus Sash, and we sent in Oregano. Grimmsnarl was quick to fall to an unnecessary play rough from our Magic Cat, and Porygon Z got zapped by a now +4 Electro Shot while it sat helplessly recharging from the Hyper Beam before. And finally, out came Kieran's final Pokemon, his last line of defense, Hydrapple. Immediately, he terastallized, turning his Grass Dragon into a pure fighting type? I gotta say, I did not see that one coming. I wasn't even phased either. Fighting Apple Hydra checks out, and with one final blow, Hydrapple went down, crowning us the victor and champion of the Blueberry Academy Elite Four. What, he actually lost? Let's go, guys. Oh, no. No, why? This wasn't supposed to happen. No, 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 no. I had broken Kieran. I had ruined his reputation with the students of the academy. He was now but a shell of a man, a husk of what he once was. And Drayton couldn't have been happier. I mean, can you really blame him? Kieran had claimed his spot as champion, and Drayton was just waiting for someone to come along and dethrone him. I was so ready for all of this to turn into a bit of a villainous arc for Drayton, but spoiler alert, nothing happened. Bit of a missed opportunity there, Game Freak. But they certainly didn't let Kieran's villainous undertones fade too quickly. Come on, let's all go and... What's about to happen? And next time. Come again? Kieran? I won't lose next time for sure. I'll win. Next time, I'll win. Say something. Kieran, you need to chill out, bud. Drayton, Kieran, Carmine, and myself were then called to visit one of the classrooms in the school, saying that Miss Breyer, who I had honestly not thought of this entire time, and a couple of guests wanted to meet with the four of us, so we made our way there with haste. Breyer stood behind the front desk of the room when we arrived and began explaining what we had been called there for. She wanted us to take a trip back to Paldea in order to explore Area 0 and possibly find the fabled legendary Pokemon Terapagos. And that was when special guests Raika and Gita made an appearance. Gita was surprised to see me there, which surprised me. I'd assumed that as chairwoman of the Paldean Pokemon League, and by association a fairly prestigious role in Paldea's school system, she would know of the exchange program and that I specifically had been chosen for it. But who am I to say? I'm not a chairwoman. I don't have the prestige that this large physics-defying haired woman has. I am but a lowly trainer and student who just so happens to be really good at beating up other people's monsters with my monsters. But who am I kidding? That's exactly what earns you merit in the world of Pokemon. Gita's not doing a good enough job as chairwoman, and I want her fired immediately. I'm the champion of 2 Elite Fours now. I can do whatever I want. One brief explanation of plans and admittance later, and Kieran, Carmine, Breyer, and myself were all off to Area 0 to take our extended journey down into the depths of the crater. Drayton didn't want to come with for no reason other than, I don't wanna, and we all know this gaming system wouldn't be able to handle 4 NPCs and the player character down there all at once. That would be ludicrous. Fair reasoning, not gonna lie. Before heading out though, Gita made sure to give us a mysterious disc that would supposedly be of import somewhere down the line. Weird. I wonder what the disc is called. Oh my god, that's the name of the DLC! Wow! The party arrived at the first research station in the crater, which still confuses me since the loading screen to get here had the sound of a plane, as well as the plane icon at the bottom right. So my question is, did we get airdropped in here or what's going on? Well, whatever the case, Briar told us to meet down at the Zero Lab, and I made sure to make our trip down there as long as possible. Looking back, I don't really know why I did that, but about 10 minutes later we arrived at the doors to the lab, where I, the only one who had been there up till that moment, pointed out the panel by the ramp up to the butthole door. That pleased Kieran to the point that he gave a little smile, but was sure to hide it immediately, bottling up his emotions like a true man. Keep it up, Kieran. That's healthy and definitely won't result in relationship problems with friends, family, and general loved ones later down the line. Anyways, upon inspecting the panel, the door to the lab failed to open, only for the device to detect the indigo disc, exposing a disk drive and instructing us to insert the disc properly. In you go, disc.
Yo, listen up.
Oh shit, wrong disc. The computer announced a redirection of the elevator inside to the underdepths. The door opened and we headed inside and down to this new, mysterious location. We arrived in an open cavern brimming with terra crystals growing out of every surface we could see. Briar was quick to investigate the nearby desks and subsequent documents they contained, which told us of a fabled stellar terra type. What could this mean? Well, you and I both know what's going on, but these hapless characters, not so much. Not even our poor Isigil getting dragged into every last problem that seemingly anyone is facing. We started making our way across a natural bridge to a pretty obvious crystalline roadblock. Unsure of what needed to be done, the answer reared its ugly head. A Glamora with a rainbowish hue. Could this be the stellar type the notes had just spoken of? Yes. We entered battle with the flowering rock, taking it down swiftly after deciphering that the stellar type, unlike what had been speculated from the trailers, was not, in fact, a combination of all types. At least not in the way that we had once thought. Defeating the Glamora caused the crystals that once blocked the path to dissipate, allowing us to continue deeper. Also, the other three thought that the Glamora was Terapagos. Just goes to show how little they know about this world of Pokemans. Trekking further and further into the caverns, facing off against more stellar Terramons and picking up any and all items that my slimy little peepers could see, we eventually found ourselves in a small room with a purely crystalline tunnel connected to it, when all of our Terra orbs began to react to something, expelling light and an astounding level of terrestrial energy. Only a couple more steps into the crystal tunnel and we emerged into an equally decorated, fairly open cavern. It was our final destination. Terapagos had to be somewhere in this room, but where? Our attention was turned to a green-tinted stone placed on a sheet of crystal. Briar began looking through the notes that she had on her about the Pokemon, while Kieran made the oh-so-wise decision to just start tugging on it, going on about how he has nothing and how I have everything that he wants. Friends, travel, and Riz. I understand his envy. Briar finally looked up from her book with no acknowledgement of Kieran's borderline psychotic antics, announcing that the stone was, in fact, what we were looking for. Finally, Kieran managed to remove the stone from its resting place, and this happened. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Nice fanny pack, loser. Oh, there it goes. There's no doubting, this crystal must be Terapagos. Huh? Huh? That's a Pokemon? This guy is so desperate, honestly. Oh my god, there he is! What? Oh, it's adorable. Oh my god, he's so tiny. He's so small. Oh my god. What? Yeah, this is the Pokemon. No. You're mine. Oh, come on, dude. Really? As you can probably tell, I was quite distraught. Not only did he steal Terapagos from us, he also proceeded to snarkily challenge us to a battle where he'd use the adorable little turtle. At this point, Kieran was starting to piss me off. All I wanted to do was take Terapagos from him and watch him break down like he did on the battle court earlier. I had to demonstrate the power of my team, so we initiated the battle. Right out the gate, Terapagos' signature ability, Terra Shift, activated, transforming into the shell-clad form we had been familiarized with in the trailers. I gotta say, I am a big fan of this design. The fact that it goes from cutesy to a bit more refined is a neat idea. But even with all the cool design choices that were made with this mon, it still stood as little threat to my team overall. We soon had dwindled the turtle's HP to 0, and the Kieran-related tomfoolery resumed. He was legit mad that the little guy wasn't the key to him winning a battle against us. Meanwhile, Briar became concerned that something wasn't quite right, determining that Kieran had to terastalize Terapagos immediately in order to unveil its true power. He did just that, and our once tiny, innocent turtle friend burst into a beam of energy, becoming the World Turtle. A beam of pure terrestrial energy launched at Kieran, which likely would have just straight up killed the kid if Koraidon hadn't found his way between the beam and Kieran. Feel free to thank me anytime, Buster. Cracks began to form in the ground, and upon attempting to return Terapagos to its ball, it straight up destroyed a Master Ball. We were in for a wild ride with this one. So began the battle against Stellar Form Terapagos, and let me tell you, this fight was not easy. As you've likely noticed, my main few mons were fairly high level at this point, so theoretically they should have had at least some kind of advantage in this battle, but they really didn't. Even our Chaladon with his solid special attack stat barely did anything with a single electro shot. His defenses didn't even hold up well enough to keep him alive long enough to terastalize. Needless to say, this was a problem. My bulkiest mon was going down in a matter of blows, and the other 5 weren't exactly MVPs either. Oregano was able to do a sizable chunk to the health bar with a Terra boosted flower trick, but she was immediately taken out by a Terra Starstorm. See? Not an MVP. So, through a series of small hits intertwined with the occasional Terra boosted attack and a whole lot of max revives, we managed to reach the end where, after some much needed coaxing, Kieran joined the fray to help us take down this beast of a boss fight. He really didn't help much if I'm being honest, but the moral support is always appreciated. And with one final Terra boosted freeze drive from Faye, the World Turtle became dazed, allowing us to throw our own Master Ball at it to finally place the legendary within our possession. We made it back to Blueberry Academy with the 4 of us still intact, and one final cutscene played to wrap up the DLC. No, scratch that. I missed it. Hey, Issy Gill. Look, I know I caused a lot of trouble for the League Club and everyone. I wanted to give everybody a proper apology, including you, Issy Gill. So, I'm sorry. And, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I want to make things right. So do you think we could start over from 0 and be friends again? Yeah, you sure can. Hey, we're gonna leave you two behind if you don't hurry up. Bro, there's nowhere to go. We're in the middle of the ocean. I'll find you. Very nice. Bro, we haven't seen Nimona, Penny, or Arven in so goddamn long. We're making so many friends, but then as soon as we make new friends, we're just friends, and that's it. Funny you'd mention that past me. There's actually an epilogue to the overarching DLC story coming out on January 11th, where we will be traveling back to Kitakami with the OG gang. And you already know we'll be sure to dive into that on release day. So be sure to follow the advice from earlier and drop a follow on Twitch so you don't miss out. Make sure you're subbed here too, as there will definitely be a video about it coming out not long after the release. As for the rest of our adventures at Blueberry Academy, we continued playing for another 8 hours that day, filling in the decks as per usual. Not as per usual though, it took me multiple extra days to fully complete the decks. That included me completing the quest quest that Parent had given us earlier, allowing us to go back to Area Zero to find the paradox forms of both Entei and Raikou. And I gotta say, these guys have really cool designs. I don't care if Raging Bolt looks like a giraffe. At least they're better than the violet ones. I did find a shiny Smeargle by random chance, and a shiny Milcery through the outbreaks that were going on, but otherwise, it's just been aimless running since. I thoroughly enjoyed this DLC, more than the first one even. I know Scarlet and Violet get a lot of flack for various different things, whether it be the performance, the shiny locks, what have you, which I can definitely understand. These are all valid concerns, but there's just something about these games that I love. It's a janky mess, but I enjoy just about every second I play. I'm excited for what else Game Freak has in store for us, and I hope you are as well. Make sure to leave a comment with any Pokemon related ideas you may have, or even just say hi. I really do try to reply to every single one, as it's one of my favorite things about making content, the interaction. Happy New Year everyone, and here's to 2024. That's about it from me today though, so until next time, as always, have a good one, stay safe, and I'll see you around.